Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Atheist Church Audit. My name is Jared, and I'm an atheist, and I'm gonna audit a church. I literally had to fix a flat tire in the rain this morning in order to get to church. Where's your commitment at? I'm an atheist. This morning, I had the pleasure and privilege of going to Devoted City Church in, you guessed it, Raleigh, North Carolina. This is kind of an up-and-coming, multi-campus church location shindig. Kind of like Diet Elevation Church.
I like to illustrate stuff.
Big bird's eye view. Solid people, nice music, talented worship leaders. This place had some pretty good reviews on Yelp, so I decided to visit. We now live in an age where you go to a church based on its Yelp review. At some of these multi-campus churches, it's kind of confusing who the pastor is.
Who are you?
So there was like the campus pastor, but then there was like the counselor pastor, and he was the one that gave the sermon today. It was solid, it was nice, and I don't want any of these things to come across as like criticisms of this church. More so, I want them to just be seen as like interesting little tidbits of the general direction that evangelical culture is going, specifically with like church structure and format. Because I think it's fascinating. I think it's really interesting the way that these communities try to work and foster the community. So again, everyone that I met there today, super wonderful, kind people. I walk up to a tent that they have for like new visitors. This is becoming like increasingly common at churches to give you, like a free coffee mug and like a little book or something, a little goodie basket. The thing that I thought was fascinating though, was that they're having this whole campaign called like Try 5 or something. So for like new families that come and visit, what they tell them is, hey, we're so happy you're here. Please come 4 more times before you make any hard decisions about whether or not you think this place should be your home church. Which, I get it, it's fine, it's fair. But it kind of feels like going on a date with a girl and, having an okay first date and then telling her at the end of it, hey, let's do this 4 more times before you make any hard decisions about whether or not you think I'm ugly. Again, it's not a criticism of the church, I just think it's funny. I will say that this church had some of the stereotypes of new multi-campus evangelical churches, and I don't think I've ever seen it so clearly laid out like it was here. First and foremost, they had a coffee shop that was like the first thing that you see when you walk through the door. It's like, we have coffee and Jesus. Don't talk to me till I've had my coffee and Jesus. They also had a fog machine, which, listen, I get it. But I don't think I've actually ever seen a real fog machine in a church before. And again, it's not a criticism of the church at all. It's just, I've heard so many memes from, Catholic or Eastern Orthodox Christians being like, oh my gosh, evangelicals, they all need their coffee shops and they need their fog machines in order to experience God. And it was like walking in here, it's like, oh my God, wow, this is exactly the place that they had in mind when they made that joke. The sermon was good. It was all about waiting. Doctrine was orthodox.
Jesus Christ, who is the true peace.
One thing that is really funny to me is they take the microphone of the pastor and they route it all throughout the building, so wherever you are, you can hear the sermon. So you walk into the bathroom and you can still hear the pastor speaking.
That Mariah doing is being obedient to the role.
Which again, it's not a criticism. I just think it's funny. Like, there was a dude changing his kid's diaper in the bathroom and he shouldn't have to like miss out on the sermon to go take care of his kid. It's thoughtful, it's sweet, but it's also just really funny. Let's check the notes. Fog machine, sermon in the bathroom, asked to come 5 times. Anyway, the one piece of feedback that I have for this church, and really it's not a criticism of this church in particular, it's just kind of a general trend that a lot of evangelical churches are going down, is the sacrament. I don't know, dude. It just kind of kills me inside. Granted, they're Protestants. They don't believe in transubstantiation. They don't think this is literal, oxidized blood. It's just a symbol, right? It's a symbol of the body and bread, and the symbol isn't the real thing, so it doesn't matter if you play hacky sack with it or do whatever. It doesn't matter. But still, something about it just makes me feel kind of icky. If you believe that it's an ordinance commanded by Christ to sit and remember his crucifixion, you would think that there's like I don't know, some more oomph behind it. Now, I kind of want to speak out of both sides of my mouth because on the one hand, I wish there was more of a ceremony behind it. I wish it was real bread and real wine or grape juice, it doesn't matter. But conversely, I don't want it to be so focused on the pomp and show of it that it takes away from the contemplation of the crucifixion and the contemplation of Christ's sacrifice. And to give this church its credit, there was a, pretty substantial time to think about Christ's crucifixion. But I don't know, man, it just feels kind of like this is like not the place you want to skimp out on. One of the things that kind of grieves me is like, it just feels like all of these churches are working off such a pre-written script that there's not a whole lot of flexibility or room for innovation. So one thing that I saw that they had was like a community garden. That's actually super unique and super duper cool. So props to them for that. But I was thinking about like how they could implement, a Eucharist focused element and make it like a community thing. Listen, I get it. Bread is expensive, wine is expensive. It doesn't have to be super pricey. It's fine if it's still Welch's grape juice, but just like there needs to be some kind of more gravitas to it. So hear me out. What if there was like a once a month bread making ceremony where you come to church in the church kitchen, in the pantry, and you make the communion bread? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be like so sweet for like the elderly women in the church or like the young kids to do? I feel like that would be really meaningful. Because this is just sad. I don't know, it's made in China probably, and I don't even know if it's safe to consume. It's not made by believers. Like, you're fooling yourself if you think that like the dude that made this is like a devout Christian. Like, there's a lot of parts of this service that have a lot of intentionality to it and a lot of financial backing. You're talking about the $5,000 cameras that they have in the back, the $2,000 slider, the $3,000 lenses. I don't think that those are misspent funds. I think that those are totally valid to have, but it feels kind of like there's a, misalignment of priorities. I think my problem with it is just that it feels so commoditized. It feels like Jesus in a Lunchable. I'm sure that this won't be the last time that I bitch and moan about a cheap communion experience, but I'll drop it for now. The other thing about this church that I need to give props to is this bass player was rocking a sick 5-string multi-scale bass, and that dude was definitely a metalhead. That wraps up this week's Atheist Church Audit. I'm gonna give this church 3 out of 5 banana peppers. That's the metric we're going with. That's the standard. Tune in next week to watch me debate William Lane Cryve live on air. Thank you, and good night.